Things are live. Are they live? They might be live. Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service. I work at Traffic Services. That's the citywide traffic unit for the Toronto Police, and we cover, well, the city. This is Ask a Traffic Cop, where you get to ask a police officer, namely me, questions about traffic, police, law, things we talk about here on Ask a Traffic Cop. So ask away. If you've got questions, hopefully Q&A is working again. Is it working? No, it's not working. So TikTok's Q&A is not working, which means I'm going to be looking at the chat window, and hopefully I'll be able to collect your questions and answer them in an easy to navigate way. Same thing goes. Actually, the Q&A function in Instagram is working well, and of course we have another way of communicating. If you're watching us on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, or where else? Those. So YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, and Facebook, you can actually ask questions, and we'll see them right on the screen from all the chat groups. It'll come into one box, which is really great. If you are on Twitter, I'm very sorry to report that it's broken. We can't actually see your messages right now. Hopefully that is going to be fixed soon. I shouldn't say it's broken. It may have been repaired in the last 2 weeks while I was out of town. But I haven't seen anybody message from Twitter. So if you want to try it, jump onto Twitter. It's at Traffic Services. You can see the stream there and try commenting, see what happens. I'm going to scroll back and see what's going on here in the very busy chat that's popping in, because we have 300 people who have popped into the live and they're saying stuff. So we got Richard, who says, "Hey, sir." Sherry says, "I can hear you." We already got the hello from Norway, which is awesome. Hello, Jen from BC says, "Hi from BC." Okay, I can't pass my learners. Got any tips? Read that book a lot, because the learner's permit is I think it's 40 questions, 20 questions based on signs, and 20 questions based on rules of the road. So it shouldn't be difficult if you read that and read it a number of times. But there's even apps you can download to help you study for it. So whatever it takes, keep going. Hello from Sarnia. Hello, Sarnia. How you doing? I got friends in Sarnia that work for the Toronto. They used to work for the Toronto Police that moved to Sarnia Police. Let's see here. Malaysia. Toyota Chaser is from Malaysia. How you doing? Thanks for dropping by. It's always nice to have our international viewers. Okay, just asking what the legal limit is to lower a car. So vehicles can be lowered legally 1.5 inches from their standard ride height is what we've been told by mechanics. I am not a mechanic, and I'm not going to tell you that I walk around with a ruler or a tape measure to measure 1.5, and I don't have manuals for every manufactured vehicles and specs for what they should be. What I do look for is whether or not there is body to body contact to the tires at lock to lock, or compression of suspension, or frame contact, or body contact to road at compression. So anything that's doing something it shouldn't be doing is a problem. It's a safety concern. Pro Football Craze, good morning to you, coming in from Twitch. I see you there. Let's see what's going on. Sir, do you still ride? Did you give up on riding? I have not ridden since my collision. I do plan on getting my motorcycle on the road this year. It's been a long time coming, and my hope is to get my personal bike back on the road, but I'm not riding at work yet. I do hope to return to two wheels soon. I miss it. I love it. It's a big part of my life, and I don't want to give up on that. Question, old car with no airbag, what is the law on it? If your vehicle was manufactured before airbags were manufactured or were law, then you don't have to have them. You don't require them. If your vehicle was manufactured with them, then removing them is illegal. Big Jeff Fresh coming in by Twitch. Good morning. Good to see you, brother. Okay. How to become a traffic cop? Well, first you become a cop, and then you get into specialties. So I started off as a divisional officer, and as I continued, actually, let me back up. I started off as an auxiliary officer, and I was recruited into traffic as an auxiliary officer because I was a motorcycle rider, and they were looking for people who could, ride motorcycle as an auxiliary. So I did that, and then I became a court officer and an auxiliary simultaneously, did both. I volunteered and worked full-time. And then when I became a police officer, I went to a division, and I had expressed interest in going back to traffic because that's what I started as an auxiliary, and I wanted to do that. I knew it was something I was interested in, and I like riding motorcycles. So that was a big part of it. But becoming a traffic officer is a specialty within policing. Perfect. Love your videos. Keep up the great content. Thank you so much. That's from, where am I getting that message from? I want to see if it's the same person who messaged, but it is. It's our friend from Norway. Are turbo kits legal? Well, if turbo kits are installed properly and the exhaust or the dump of the turbo is going through the exhaust system and not directly into the air, then you're okay. It should be a legal process, or should be a legal kit. If it's not installed properly, you could be violating the Environmental Protection Act, which is a problem because that's going to take your car off the road. A local one says, "Good morning. How you doing? Are yellow headlights legal?" Actually, yes, they are. Yellow and white headlights, yellow or white, are two approved colors for forward-facing bulbs that have more than 300 lumens of power. That's what the Highway Traffic Act says is a light, that is a headlight, projector lamp. And you can have a maximum of 4 bulbs. I had a very spicy lunch. I'm still feeling the effects of it. Apparently, you shouldn't use a half a liter of homemade hot sauce on your chicken and not expect to have side effects. Hang on, I need some water. Agua, that's what I need. Should have filled this up before we started. Okay, I'm back. What do we have here? How much can tires poke out? Tires shouldn't poke out, and they shouldn't extend. They have to be covered by a fender, a flare, or and a mud flap. Whatever's extending beyond the body has to be covered. Caitlin says, "Good morning, Sean and Q. Happy Hump Day." Is Q&A working for TikTok now? It does not appear to be working. And folks, if you see that Q&A is working, if you're able to use the Q&A bubble, please let me know. I'd love to see this. I've been reporting this back to TikTok because it seems to be a problem that is happening across the board. Erin Urquhart, who joined me yesterday, said she, for 2 weeks, has not been able to use the feature. So if you can use the feature, let me know. Maybe we'll do a poll in a little bit. We did a poll yesterday. And just because it's a feature, I can press a button that says poll. All right. What is this? What is this? Oh, we scrolled a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, let me scroll back. I don't want to miss anybody. I never do that. This is totally new for me being in the chat, so this is cool. Let me go back. Good morning. Is it hard to get into the OPP? It's hard to get into any police service. It's a very competitive position, or process, I should say. So absolutely, it is. Oh, I don't know why that changed. I am not Mona Lisa. Hey, how do I fix this? That's too funny. Oh my goodness, that's effect. Let's change that back to the right picture. The right background needs to be on there. So as you can see, technical difficulties with TikTok always makes it for an interesting way to play. Let's go back into the to here. Somebody asked, what inspired me to become a police officer? The answer is probably chips. May have been one of the most inspiring things. I knew I wanted to get involved with motorcycling. I have a picture of me wearing a Superman underoos, sitting on a family friend's, what was it, a Yamaha XS11 Midnight Special, I think it was, on the house. I was under 10. I was also watching Chips back then with family, and I had family members who are cool people in law enforcement. I had an FBI, or I have an FBI family member, and who was a police officer before he joined the FBI, and I always had that interaction. But I also had some really amazing school resource officers when I was in high school, and policing was just something I wanted to do, and I'm very blessed to have been able to do it. Why is Toronto not doing anything about car theft? I don't know what people want us to do to stop criminals from doing things. We try and catch people after, but preventative, we can't be on every street every minute of every day. So we do investigate, report. We do ask people to use good techniques. So making your vehicle a less interesting candidate for theft doesn't mean you're going to prevent theft. It means you're going to make it more difficult to steal, thus they may choose another vehicle. But to say that we're not doing anything about car theft, that's not accurate. We are investigating, we are doing what we do. That's not something that I'm involved in, but it is something that our auto squad is very involved in. Bypass or cutouts. There's switches that you can install for an ignition cutout, so that you can actually flip a hidden switch so that someone gets in, they can't start the car. Even if they have the key, they can't start the car. That's something that some people are saying is very effective. Others are putting air tags in their cars so that if it does get stolen, they can locate it. All sorts of things that are being used or suggested for use to prevent or at least locate vehicles after they're stolen. But the truth is, if a criminal wants your car, whether it's in your garage, with a big chain around it, whatever the case may be, if they want it, they'll get it. But, good evidence, video cameras, well-lit areas, all these things are good ideas. You can also even do stuff because there's a lot of people doing cloning thefts where they use a repeater to copy your wireless, what's it called, a proximity key. So you can put it into a Faraday bag so that they can't get the signal. But even then, they can just pick up the car on a tow truck. Criminals will do all sorts of things to get your wheels. One suggestion is buy an older, unattractive stick shift, and no one will take your car. I know it's not a good answer, but it's a funny one. Okay. What do we have here? Flipping down. Not a firefighter. What's going on? Good to see you. Okay, now we're back into the right place. Have you ever got a traffic ticket yourself? I did prior to becoming a police officer because when I was a kid, newly licensed, I ran a stop sign. I did 10 or 15, maybe even 20 over. I don't know what it was that I got stopped for when I was 16, but I do know that I got a couple of tickets. I should actually do a deep dive and see what was on my driving record, but I think it was just 2. And since becoming a police officer, I don't drive. I drive like a grandpa. I want to reduce my cost of gas, so I drive slowly. I also follow the law. I'm really big on following the rules that I enforce, so I don't speed. I set it and forget it. I use cruise control a lot. All right. Our yellow helmet, we talked about that already. Does security guard experience with becoming an officer? Any work experience is good. Whether you have accounting experience, no kidding, accounting, if you're a librarian, anything you bring to the table that's a unique skill and has unique experiences or helps you develop as a human being, it's good. No experience, not having any job, that's more of a problem. But security, I did security work when I was younger. It's all good. Every experience is good experience. If you get it, what is this? If you got a ticket and they wrote your name and address wrong, do you still have to pay the whole ticket? Depends on what the error is, and depends on what the court says. It could be thrown out. It could be amended in court. It depends if they accept the modifications or changes, and it also has to be justified as to why. Was it a huge mistake? Was it totally the wrong person, or was it just you didn't update your address, so they put the old address because you gave them an old license? Depends. Tracy says, "Good morning. Good morning, Tracy. How you doing? Why are cars with loud mufflers never being pulled over?" Well, it's not accurate. We do pull them over. We have the Project Noisemakers and Project Erase, and we're actively looking for people who are breaking the law when it comes to unnecessary noise violations, unsafe vehicles. So we do pull them over. And not just cars, motorcycles too. Okay. Cars driving in the neighborhood so fast. Robert, it's a problem everywhere. I just got back from Florida on vacation, and people speed there, they speed here. Folks don't think that they're going to get caught until they get caught. So I guess the answer is we should catch more people. But we're doing our best. We do have a dedicated Vision Zero enforcement team. They go out every day and look for people committing the big 4 offenses. That's speeding, distracted driving, aggressive driving, and impaired driving. And they're busy, busy folks. They're out there all day long, and they don't give hugs, they give tickets. Speaking of the Vision Zero enforcement team, let's talk about where they are today. These officers, like I said, they go after the big 4, and today they're focusing their efforts on 23 Division and 53 Division. So that's Rexdale, Jamestown, Martin Grove, Lawrence Park, Yonge and Eglinton, Rosedale, Leaside. Those neighborhoods within those police divisions are being given some special attention. The work that the Vision Zero enforcement team is doing is in addition to any work being done by the regular officers there. And they're directed to a different division every day, 2 different divisions every day, based on analytical information to see who needs the attention based on trends and both from speed and collision data. They're trying to save lives. They're trying to make the roads safer, which is our entire goal here. We want to do a couple of things. We want to make the roads safer. We want to save you from getting tickets because nobody likes tickets, and we don't want to have to give them to you, but we will if the driver behavior suggests you need a ticket. Okay. How do I go from police officer to SWAT? Well, let me first go here and bring in, I believe it's going to be Nick. Is it going to be Nick?
Pushed by another
Hello
woman
there.
onto the tracks.
It's not Nick. It's his background. I'm just going to take it so you guys don't hear it. Hang on one second.
Hello.
Hey, Nick. How you doing? They can't hear you. Oh, no. Let's see here. I'm getting a loop back.
That's me. Hold on.
Okay. We're just doing some quick testing here. And because in just about 15 minutes, we're going to have Mark Toohey from News Talk 1010 join us. We're going to be on the air live in Toronto.
Sounds great. We'll talk to you in a few minutes. Thanks, Sean.
Awesome. Talk to you soon. So I'm going to put them in the background.
Woman was still
remember to press
trapped
this back in the thing. You don't hear them, but I hear them, so I've muted them. All right, cool. Let's see here. So where were we saying? How do I go from police officer to SWAT? So SWAT team, SWAT is special weapons and tactics. That's more of a terminology used in the States. LAPD, I believe, they're SWAT. We have something called the ETF, the Emergency What do I know? Oh my goodness! How am I having a mental moment where I can't remember what ETF stands for? Emergency. Oh, come on! I just acronyms everywhere. ETF. Is it? Someone's going to laugh at me for this one for a while. Task force. There, it came. It was a little slow. It was under a couple of files in my brain. I didn't even have to hit Google. Emergency Task Force, ETF. I had tactical in my brain. That's what wanted to come out. It was the wrong word. So everyone, you've got the TRUE team for the OPP. You've got ERT for York Regional Police, Emergency Response Team. Everyone calls it something different, but ultimately it's a tactical response team. To do that, you have to be a police officer, first class, so it means you've been at least 4 or 5 years, possibly more like 8 or 10, depending on what they're looking for. And you apply. If they take you for the pre-test, they evaluate you. If you take this little course, it's probably really involved, and you have to be super fit. So I'm not getting in there. But you go through that, and then if you do well, the potential of being placed in a team. But it's a long process, and I have friends that worked really, really hard to get it because that was what they wanted to do. It's a very special type of policing, and I'm glad that they're around because they do some amazing work. But it's not an easy thing to get into by any stretch. Okay, if an emergency vehicle parks in a bike lane, are they exempt from tickets? Police officers and emergency vehicles responding to calls don't have the luxury of finding, friendly and good parking. They go where they have to go to get to the call to save lives right away. They don't park and walk when someone's life is at risk or whatever kind of threat is there. So yeah, they're exempt. Even if they were ticketed, that ticket would be written off. It would be explained based on the actions of the call. So when responding to an emergent situation, you do what you got to do. Should I renew my plate sticker? Well, plate stickers aren't a thing in Ontario anymore, at least for vehicles that are under 3,000 pounds and are light trucks, personal vehicles, and motorcycles. Those are basically the categories that are free to renew, but you must renew. You got to go online. You got to do the renewal thing. And there are vehicles that are required to still renew and get stickers. So you need to know what your vehicle is. You need to go to the website and try. At very least, you need to renew, and it'll tell you whether you have to pay or not. But the no sticker and free renewal is a thing. All right. I was on a bike and got a ticket for going through a stop sign, $160. Chicken nuggies. $160 doesn't seem like the right price. It should have been $110 in Ontario. Maybe you were somewhere else. But yes, on a bicycle, if you're talking about a bicycle, or a motor vehicle, the same fine and same ticket applies. The only difference is if you're on a bicycle, there's no demerit points on your driver's license. We check off a box that says not a motor vehicle, and then the points don't get applied because it explains, because there's no points for those offenses when you're not on a motor vehicle. And bicycles aren't motor vehicles. Even e-bikes, if they conform to the regulation for e-bike, meaning they can't go more than 32 kilometers an hour, not capable of going, they can't have more than 500 watts of motor power, then they would be an e-bike, and then they wouldn't get points either. But if you are above those, if they're modified, if they're illegal, they become motor vehicles again, and then license, ownership, insurance, and points would apply if you had a license. Let's see here. What's the loudest an exhaust can be in your location? This is from Diesel Lover. Well, the answer is that you can't create unnecessary noise. There's no decibel rating per se to say what is loud and not loud. It's the interpretation of the officer who's investigating you for the unnecessary noise. Now, you have to have a muffler, and by regulation, a passenger vehicle, I believe, has to have no more than 74 decibels at idle. Now, I can't speak to that. I'm not a mechanic, but that's what we've been told by mechanics. At the end of the day, we don't use a decibel rating to issue a ticket. We make observations. It was too loud, and this is why. And very often we're wearing body cameras or have cameras in our vehicle with microphone packs on our person. We're going to collect that evidence to go with it. But it's not even required. Just having the observations documented will be sufficient. Hey, if you're new to the channel, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable from the Toronto Police Service here in Ontario, Canada. I go live Monday to Friday from 10 to 11, answering your traffic and police questions. And occasionally, I'm joined by the good folks at News Talk 1010. Jerry Agar is on vacation, but his friend Mark Toohey is standing in for him, and he will be joining us in about 10 minutes. So stay tuned. And if you're listening in Toronto, know that you can also call into the radio station. We'll get you those numbers in a little bit. All right. Hey, want a chance to win a Harley Davidson? I know I do. I haven't bought my tickets yet. I keep talking about it, but everyone else has bought tickets but me. There's only 7,000 available for HarleyRaffle.ca. This is raising money for Special Olympics Ontario. It's a fantastic organization, and I've got a video I've got to publish from with a friend of mine, Erica, who came down to the station to help record it. It's a beautiful motorcycle. Tickets are $20 each or $3 for $50, if I'm not mistaken, but HarleyRaffle.ca is the place to go to get that taken care of and get your chance to win. So you can be a good human, support a great cause, and possibly walk away with a Harley. I know the person that won the last one. He's a very lucky man. Okay. Can they flag a vehicle if it's tinted, even if they don't pull it over? Can we make notes? We can make notes. At the end of the day, usually we'll pull it over. And now there are civilians who can also, there's a form on our website. So if you go to www.torontopolice.on.ca/core, C-O-R-E, I had to think about that for a second. We're changing our domain names and shortening, whatever. So that's the long version. It's the torontopolice.on.ca/core, and go to traffic complaints or specific vehicle complaints. You can make a complaint about any vehicle that you observe, and that will go into an official file, be assigned to an officer, and even if charges can't be laid, it'll become part of a growing file. So if we have 25, any number, if we have a file that is created, when we do stop you, we'll see the other associated documents. Okay. But I would just pull over the vehicle with the tinted windows and charge them. That's just me. What do we got here? Reading chat is important, people. Yeah, you know what? This is so unique for us because normally we have Q&A function. It's really easy to navigate, and I am doing something differently today, and yesterday, because it's been down for the entire 2 weeks that I was off. So it's only now. Let's see here. Do you have the police job with IT skills? I actually was in IT in a former life. I used to work for software companies and big computer companies, and that was oh my goodness, that was in 1995, 93, 94, 95. Like that's when I was working in computers. I don't know when I left, but I didn't join the police service until 2000. Okay. Let's see what's going on here. So yeah, I've had the benefit of some computer skills to make life a little easier. I'll have to see who the spammer. I don't see the spam. I just see the request for certain people to stop spamming. All right. I got a speeding ticket 2 years ago in the peak of COVID, but I'm waiting for a response still. What now? Great question. Thanks for asking it. If you haven't received anything, it's possible that it's just in line, and a big line there is. But you can certainly contact the courts and find out what the story is. It's better to investigate and find out that they were trying to get a hold of you and couldn't, or rather than having just a conviction against you. But it may have been lost. Who knows? Check it out. Oh, I may have just lost a bunch of stuff. I have to scrolling back. Do police have a quota of tickets per month? No, police don't have quotas. At least I can speak to our police service and police services in the area. I'm sure it's possible in other provinces, other states. They might. We don't. We do have an expectation of doing our jobs, and we're, especially for traffic services, if I don't go out and actually work, then my supervisors are going to ask me what I'm doing while getting paid on taxpayer dollars. It's just similarly, if I'm not doing anything in this office, if I don't post anything on TikTok, if I don't go live, they're going to wonder why I'm getting paid. But it doesn't matter what I'm doing, and it doesn't matter if I work for McDonald's or the Toronto Police. There's an expectation of doing work, but not a quota. I don't have to hit 10 to go home, or they'll give me dock my pay. That's not how it works. I might make one stop that ends up in an arrest that takes the entire day, or I might have a bunch of speeding tickets and maybe there was no call for service. So, yeah. Did Gumball 3000 have an exemption to traffic laws given the police presence? I imagine it did. I was not in town when it happened, so I don't know how that went down. But the stunt driving laws have a provision for indie events and permitted events. So if there was a permit issued, then they may have an exemption for certain things. But I don't know. Was it a closed circuit? Was it open road? If it was open road, they wouldn't have an exemption. And everything that I've seen was all driving while being escorted. It didn't look like anything out of the ordinary. But in other countries, when they hit certain states, I saw them doing donuts. That would have been stunt driving here unless they had a permit. Okay, what do we got here? 3 minutes out for News Talk. Cool, thanks for the update. Can a G1 driver drive a four-wheeler? I'm not an off-road aficionado, but I would assume that if the four-wheeler requires a license, then a G1 is not it. G1 doesn't afford you any ability to drive a vehicle other than, at least on the road, other than a motor vehicle while being supervised by a qualified G. So where are you taking this four-wheeler? Four-wheelers can't generally go on the road. If you're out in the country where a license is required to go on the road, then a G1 wouldn't be it. This is me breaking it down, but I'm not an off-road aficionado. Sergeant Murray Campbell, who is not here with me right now, is. He's the guy to talk to. So come back tomorrow. Maybe he'll join the show. Do we need helmets for dirt bike? It's a mini motorcycle. That's an off-road situation. Obviously, for safety, you should. Again, not an off-road guy. I'm going to say you do, but requirements for off-road. I speak to the Highway Traffic Act, and I just don't know enough about the Off-Road Vehicles Act to comment. I think you do need a helmet. I'm going to say yes, and I certainly encourage you to wear a helmet because protecting this computer, if it doesn't work, you don't work, and that's it. So I would say yes, wear it for sure. And a mini motorcycle, mini bikes, not safe in general. You can't use them on the road at all. Okay, let me see if I've got silence in the background. Stand by. I do have silence. We're going to keep them in the foreground 90 seconds. And as soon as they come on, I'll hit the on-air button so you can hear them too. So right now, Nick, if you're listening, I can hear you, but they can't. So I have to hit that button. When do your chains have to be crossed when towing any trailer? Yes, your chains must be crossed. If you're talking about, ball hitch type thing. I got it. We covered that one. Okay. What should I do if a car runs me off the road when I'm on the road riding my skateboard? Well, you shouldn't be on the road riding your skateboard because skateboards aren't legally permitted to be on the road. But that being said, being run off the road is still a situation where you call the police, and hopefully you have enough information, or maybe you have a body cam that's recording so you can get some information about that vehicle that ran you off the road. But I'd call it in, especially if you were injured, if you just were inconvenienced. I'd still report it, but you shouldn't be on the road. E-bikes, legal on the road. Mono or unicycles, those electric one-wheels, not legal in the city of Toronto, not legal on the road. They're not covered under the scooter, what's it called, the pilot for the e-kick scooter. E-kick scooter is not legal in the city of Toronto. I got to stand by. I think we're going to be joined momentarily. I'm hitting the on-air button anyway. Okay.
All right, stand by. Here we come. You'll hear no music, but you will hear the, hey, here's Mark Toohey in for Jerry Agar.
Sounds good. How likely am I going to get a ticket for 20% window tint? Well, if it's on the windshield,
The Jerry
yes, you
Agar
will.
Show is on with special guest host Mark Toohey on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
Hey, welcome back. This is one of my favorite segments that Jerry does regularly. It is, we are joined by PC Sean Shapiro, Toronto Police Traffic Safety Programs, Traffic Operations. You can watch him on TikTok. His handle is @TrafficServices. Sean, welcome to the program again.
It's good to be back, and it's good to talk to you again. It's been a while.
Yeah, last time I filled in it was a while back, but you and I spoke, and I guess we are also live on TikTok, so this is exciting. It's kind of like my semi debut.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. We're actually on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. We're everywhere simultaneously.
Outstanding. I'm gonna bill extra for this.
You should.
This segment. There you go. you answer people's questions all the time on all these social media channels. When you join us here on News Talk 1010 in Toronto and the iHeartRadio Talk Network across Ontario, we get to share some of the questions we get from our listeners and hear what some of your viewers and audience are asking. Let me start with this one because it's a bit complicated. We got this text yesterday from a listener, and there's a lot of things in here that kind of set off kind of question marks for me. And she says, I ordered my license plate sticker a month ago. Yesterday, I received a reminder notice that my birthday is coming up and I should place an order. I haven't received a reminder notice for 5 years. Number one, can you still order license plate stickers? Because I thought that program was defunct, but good for her for knowing that she has to register her vehicle. And are they reminding people to do that because maybe they thought they didn't?
So a while back, they sent out notices saying, we're not going to send notices anymore, but you can sign up for online electronic reminders. Now, you're right, the system has changed. There's no more stickers being produced for vehicles that are less than 3,000 kilos that are considered light trucks or passenger vehicles or motorcycles. For those, you still have to renew, but it's free and it's online. And again, no stickers are ever going to be issued. So a lot of people were talking about something that happened last month where someone had traveled to Montreal and got a ticket for close to $500 for having an expired plate. It wasn't because their sticker was expired. It's because they never renewed their plate, not realizing that there was still a process involved. So you do have responsibilities in there, and if you don't renew, you'll get a ticket for that. It's $110 in Ontario. Now, when it comes to the other vehicles that aren't covered under this new program, they still have to renew, they still have to pay, and they may be issuing stickers for those.
I get that. I think that's easy to understand, I hope. Another one, we're getting lots of questions on the text board from people who want to know about U-turns. And I hear you almost every episode of this on the radio explaining where you can and where you can't. Henry is a truck driver, asks if it's legal for someone to make a U-turn from the left turn lane at an intersection. He finds it very annoying. Somebody else today also asking, are U-turns allowed at traffic lights?
So yes, they are, if they are not signed otherwise. So if there's a sign that says you can't make a U-turn, obviously you can't, and you can't do it for 150 meters after that sign. You have to be able to make that and complete that turn safely. Anything that happens during that turn is your responsibility. So it really is on you if you make a boo-boo. And there's other areas where you simply can't. If there's no visibility because of a crest of grade or curve in the road where you can't see what's coming, that's obviously a place you cannot do it. It's unsafe. In front of a bridge or viaduct or tunnel, in front of a railway crossing, all those places are absolutely not permitted, but legal if safe to do so and not signed otherwise.
Fair enough. I think even I understand that. Let's take a call. This is Paul in Etobicoke. What's your question for PC Shapiro?
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for taking my call. My question is, if I'm at an intersection where there is a bus stop cutout and the bus goes into the cutout to pick up passengers, can I legally make a right-hand turn from the left side and make the right-hand turn in front of the bus?
So that's an improper turn. You can't turn you have to be in the right lane to make the right turn.
But he would be in the right lane, but he wouldn't be in the cutout.
Oh,
is there a difference?
I'm trying to visualize this. So if there's a cutout, then the bus is not in the lane anymore. They've exited the lane. They're in the cutout. At that point, you should be able to safely continue, assuming the cutout takes the bus entirely, so that traffic can continue past it. But if it's a situation where the bus is still occupying the majority of that lane, then it could be unsafe. You got to be able to pass that vehicle and turn from the right lane.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Thanks very much. That's. I'm always nervous, though. I've got to watch what's going on with the bus because the bus then has the right of way as soon as it signals left to join the road again.
Well, that's it. And how much benefit are you really getting? A lot of what I talk about is packing patience. A couple of extra minutes to let them do what they're doing. If you can't guarantee the safety of what you're doing in your vehicle, pause, take a breath. Change. You're not going to get anywhere that much faster by passing somebody. Now, if the bus is disabled, it's not going anywhere. That's a different story. But if it's just a couple of seconds here or there, I like patience. It really helps things out.
It keeps a lot of people alive. Let's go to Barry in Thornhill. What's your question for Sean Shapiro?
Hello?
Go ahead.
Okay, hi. I want to know, is it Police sitting in cars at construction sites. Is it the duty officers? Shouldn't he get out of his car and direct traffic so that it flows? Many times you get these trucks, they turn, they block the intersection because it's so jammed they can't move.
Thanks, Barry. Yeah, it's a good question, I think, Sean Shapiro. I mean, I often wonder, what is it that the paid duty officers are there to do?
It really depends on what they're hired to do. That's being paid by the company that hired them. They may be required only under certain conditions. They're not necessarily controlling the intersection all the time. They may just be under certain circumstances. So it really depends. So if they're hired to be in the intersection controlling traffic because they're turning out the lights, then they're there holding traffic the entire time. If it's only to let certain vehicles through, then they'll come out and do what they were hired to do. But they're not necessarily required at all times. So I can appreciate that. If you see a police officer sitting in a car, you might think that they should be doing something, but they may be doing something that they're actually there for. They could be writing up a ticket or writing a report. We don't know what they're there for.
I find it frustrating because oftentimes it's a mess around a construction zone, and there's a police officer there on paid duty who seems to be doing absolutely nothing to make it better.
Yeah, and listen, every officer has a different skill level when it comes to traffic direction. Every detail is going to be slightly different. So and they're not always paid duty officers. They may be an officer who's there to conduct an investigation in relation to something happening there. So it's hard to know what it is, but based on this conversation, we're assuming they're a paid duty officer, and yeah, it depends.
We are talking with PC Sean Shapiro from Toronto Police Traffic Safety Programs. He is the TikTok traffic cop. You can call in with questions for him at 1-877-518-5151. We're going to keep him over the break, so there's lots of time for your calls. But Sean, what kind of questions are you getting from the TikTok folks today, or your social media folks?
We have had so many different questions, and the Q&A function is not working on TikTok right now. So we're in a general chat, and it's just we've got currently 250 people who are just chatting like crazy. So let me see if I can pull something up quickly. They're talking about speed limits in Malaysia. That's not going to be helping us. Let's have a look here. We had questions. Oh, let's see. This is refreshed. Let's talk about something we talked about earlier. Actually, just one I get all the time, and I actually tweeted about it, and someone hasn't asked me yet. But how much can you legally go over the speed limit? It seems to be a daily question. What's the legal exception over the posted speed limit that someone can go? And the answer is nothing. You're not allowed to exceed the speed limit. It's a limit, not a minimum. And many people choose to exceed it. And if you go even 1 kilometer over, technically you are committing the offense of speeding, and you could be charged.
Now, I imagine, because I know some police officers, including some that did highway patrol out in Western Canada, and they all had a sort of a rule of thumb. If you weren't being clearly a hazard, they had a rough sort of grace that they would allow people, but it varied from officer.
Every officer is going to have their own, guidance there. There is discretion. When everyone seems to be exceeding the speed limit by a little bit, they seem to want to get the bigger ones, which makes sense. You can't pull everybody over. You want the people that are creating the most issue. In a perfect world, no one would speed at all. And I really annoy people because I set it and forget it. I put my cruise control on and I do the speed limit, and people pass me, and they don't like me when I do that. But that is the speed limit. And I don't want to be a hypocrite, and I don't want to be, on TikTok telling people to slow down when I myself am breaking the law. So I don't do it. You know what? Some people say, yeah, we'll come back.
We'll take more of your calls at 872-1010, area code 416-872-1010 when we come back.
Okay, he's going to be on a hold.
It is
I am going
to 10 times saver traffic.
I'm going to put them in the background. Hang on a second. And let's get some questions here. How do I report road rage? That's a great question. If it's road rage and it's an active situation, something's happening right now, people are in danger, call 911. That's an emergency. If it's something that happened early in the day, maybe you have dash cam footage of it, you can either go online using that web page that I gave you earlier. I'll repeat it now. It's www.torontopolice.on.ca/CORE. You can make specific complaints or general traffic complaints for an area. Excuse me. And that's another way to do it. It really depends on what happened. But if there is immediate risk of harm to anybody, call police. If it's an impaired driver, call police. If it's something that needs immediate attention, it's an emergency. Do I have to pay a parking ticket that is private property? There's ones that are written on behalf of the Toronto Police under the City of Toronto, I should say, under the bylaw. Those are going to affect your license. The ones that are private property by private companies that are not supported by bylaw, those are basically ones that are between you and the property owner or the company that's writing them. That will be something that they very often will send you to collections for, or come after you, and that's a fight for you to make. It's entirely different. The ones that are written on behalf of the City of Toronto, they will come back, and you won't be able to renew your license or your license plate, I should say. Let's be kind. I'm not seeing all these things, but apparently there are things happening here. Why are Canadians so nice? I don't know if everyone's so nice, but certainly there are many Canadians who are nice. What do we have here? We're not that nice. Are we allowed to tow another vehicle? Depends on how you're connecting it, but there are means of attachment that would make it legal. There's tow dollies and other ways to do it safely. It's not something I would suggest unless you know what you're doing. Simply towing it with a rope, not a good idea. And you'll likely get a big ticket. There's proper ways to do it. What is this? Hi, Sean. I'm in Ontario, only 2 hours from you. Dangerous drivers and speeding is terrible, or has been terrible here. It's terrible everywhere. I can't tell you how many people pass and are doing at least 130, 140 on the highway when I'm doing 100. It's not safe. Linda, good morning. Coming in from Facebook. Good to see you. I recently passed my G2 and I bought a vehicle. What happens if I fail my G test? Do I lose my car? No, you don't lose your vehicle. You own that, and just keep paying the bills. But the deal is that if you fail your G and you expire, you may have to go back and do your G2 test again to continue there. That you don't just get to renew your G2. But don't focus on failing. Focus on winning. Focus on becoming a better driver and doing what you have to do, and maybe even invest in some driving lessons to ensure that you know what you need to know and are proficient so that you do pass your G. Okay. But we don't take your car. That doesn't happen. Do OPP have radar on the back of their vehicles? Well, every vehicle is going to be configured differently. Our highway vehicles have front and rear sensors for moving radar. So we can measure speed, coming, going, in front of us or behind us. Hey, it's Sergeant Campbell. He's setting up to jump in. On the new microphone, we can test that out in a second.
Hello, Sean.
Hello there.
How are you?
I'm good. I had a question that you were not present for earlier, talking about off-road vehicles and the requirement for helmet. Is there a charge under the off-road vehicle? Like if you had a mini bike on private property, are you obligated to wear a helmet, or is that
On private property and property owned by the owner or the operator of the bike? I don't believe it's on if it's their property. If it's on public trails or public roadways, absolutely.
Okay, that's good. We're 60 seconds away from coming back to News Talk 1010. We're going to bring back this thingamabobber at the switch. They'll be joining us in about 60 seconds. So we're on with Mark Toohey. All right, let's see here. If there are two right turn lanes, can you turn right on red from both or only the inside lane? So I grew up thinking it was the curb lane only, and it's actually both lanes, but you have to go into the appropriate lane. So a proper turn is right curb lane to curb lane, or the lane beside it to the lane beside it. It's the appropriate lane. You can't cross over. You can't change lanes mid-turn. Okay. I'll hit this on-air button, and we'll hear them when they come back. Can I have a car very low to the ground? Depends.
All right, Sean, stand by. Here we come.
Standing by. You're still standing. What is this?
The Jerry Agar Show is on with special guest host Mark Toohey on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
Hey, welcome back. We are talking with Toronto Police Constable Sean Shapiro of Traffic Safety Programs, Traffic Operations. You can find him on TikTok at Traffic Services. He is the TikTok traffic cop. Here's a question that I had. It is in my neighborhood, Sean Shapiro, where I live in the West End on Lakeshore Boulevard. There's a bunch of condos there. There's a street. So Lakeshore Boulevard runs east-west. There's a T-junction where a brand new road kind of comes up from the condos and joins Lakeshore Boulevard. And at the top of the T, if you can imagine it, there's a little green box. They've cut out a section of the sidewalk, and it looks like a bus cutout that we were talking about earlier, but it's small and it's painted green. It's got bicycles on it. I think I know what it's for. I think it's so that bicycles riding westbound who are up against the curb, instead of being in the left-hand lane and turning left at the signalized intersection there, they're supposed to stay in the right-hand lane up against the curb and then move into that little bay and wait for the light to change so that it's green going down the little down part of the T. I see that being safer, but it's completely incongruous with what the bikes are supposed to do at every other intersection. How much of our problem with sort of bike versus car accidents comes from just the inconsistency of the rules and the traffic markings?
I don't know if I can attribute collisions or I can track that to answer your question. If the confusion around different options, you could still make the turn the traditional way, but this box, which is called a pocket, allows cyclists to change direction and wait without being in the intersection, and cross with the light in their positive. So there is a stop bar, because I've seen some photos recently, and behind out of that frame would have been a stop bar for traffic, and giving them a safe place to move. So as these new road markings become more commonplace, we'll see the adoption, and everyone will eventually know how they work. But there is confusion, and many different styles of pocket and bike markings are in play as they try different concepts.
Yeah, so can a bike, if the light is red on Lakeshore, can the bike cross the stop bar, go into the intersection illegally in order to get into this box for the bike?
So to use that box, you would have to have been on the right-hand side getting into that box, and you'd have to plan it. It wouldn't be something that you would want to cross traffic to do. That could be unsafe.
Fair enough. Let's go back to some of our calls. Mary in Belleville, you've got a question about emergency vehicles. Go ahead.
Good morning. So there's one east, one westbound lane, or one north, one south. And of course, if there's a flashing light behind you from a first responder, you pull over safely. If you're traveling in the opposite direction, can you continue driving? I find vehicles are doing half and half. Half are driving and half are pulling over, but the first responding vehicle is in the other lane.
There's a lot of confusion by many drivers as to what to do when they see flashing lights and hear sirens. The rules are that you have to pull over to the closest curb or edge of roadway, and that's for either direction on an undivided highway. So if it's just a painted line, it's a two-lane road, painted line, both directions have to pull over and stop. If it's a divided highway where there's a barrier in between those lanes for north and south or east or west, then the traffic that's coming on the other side, the opposing traffic that's on the other side of the barrier, would not have to stop. And but we see people who just stop in the middle of the road. They don't pull anywhere. So it is always interesting.
A related question from the text board here. Are you able to overtake a car when there's a solid white or yellow line dividing the road?
So in Ontario, there is no charge associated with crossing a white or yellow, solid or broken line. That is a clue as to what's dangerous or not dangerous. Very often when we're at a crest of grade or an area that would be unsafe, it's a solid line saying don't do it. Yellow means that the traffic on the other side of that line is coming at you, and when it's a solid white line, it means that traffic on the other side is going in the same direction as you. Now, could you cause a collision when you cross that line? Sure. Would you be responsible? Absolutely. But there's no charge for simply crossing the line.
Okay. Let's go to Terry in Toronto. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning. Great segment. Love it. I'm making a right turn on a red onto a multi-lane street, but there are advanced left turn arrows in both directions. Can I still make that right turn?
So they have a green. You are obligated to wait until it's safe to do so. So you are going to be the second. They have the right of way. You've got to make sure that it's safe to go. If you choose to turn, it causes a collision, you're going to wear that.
Okay. Thank you.
There you go. Normally, though, if there's two or three lanes and it's safe and you can see that the other people on the advanced green are turning into their proper and nearest lane, then you might be able to make a safe right turn in that case.
You might be able to make a safe, but if it goes wrong, you're still going to wear it because you're only capable or only permitted to make that turn in safety. And at the end of the day, they will have more of a right of way than you.
Fair enough. Let's go to Brantford and get a question from Kent for PC Sean Shapiro. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning, gentlemen. Let's go with a north-south, east-west intersection. North-south have stop signs. East-west, the traffic flows. Car approaches from the north, signals to go left. He can't yet because of the traffic. Another car comes from the opposite direction. He wants to come straight through the intersection. When the traffic clears, who has right of way?
I am totally turned around. Try this. Let's back up a bit. So it's a four-way intersection controlled by a traffic signal?
No, stop sign.
Stop sign. Okay.
So one direction has no stop signs, and the crossroads have sort of stop signs for their traffic entering into that intersection.
Right.
Here's my answer for this, and I think I know where we're going. Obviously, the sign, the direction that has no stop signs is going to have the right of way. The stop signs are there, and you can only proceed when it's safe to do so. And then the question always becomes, well, who has the right of way? We're both waiting. We don't know who came first. Technically, the car who came first should go first. But in a game of who has the right of way, you give the right of way instead of take it. Making the assumption that it's yours and going and ending up in a collision is going to result in a collision. So the car that's going to be crossing in the path of traffic is also got to wait. There's all sorts of things. But at the end of the day, if you're unsure of who should be going, let the other car go.
Yeah, it's easy to. Nobody wants to have written on their tombstone, "I had the right of way."
You got it.
There you go. I think I'm going to go to a question off the text board. This one, can you please ask how often are radar guns, we've only got about a minute left, Sean, how often are radar guns calibrated? Do they sometimes give false readings? Do they have to be calibrated every day? What's the rules there?
Well, there's calibration and there's testing. The manufacturer calibrates and sets it, and then we test it as users before using it as an enforcement tool and at the end of using it. If the machine will not function if it's not working properly, but we do confirm that it's working as per the manufacturer's specifications before and after use. So if there was any issues, if we couldn't use the device if it didn't pass, and if it didn't pass when we came back, that would be documented, and that would change the evidence, making the tickets issued with an improper machine not valid.
I got about 30 seconds. If I have a handicap permit on my car, do I also need an overnight parking permit in a permit parking only street?
So you're afforded an extension. So permit only is a different story. I don't know about how permit works. And unfortunately, Aaron Urquhart, who's a parking enforcement officer, isn't standing next to me. But generally speaking, in City of Toronto, you have a 3-hour limit. When you have a disabled parking or accessible permit, you can stay for 24 hours. But I don't know how it works for the what's it called, permit parking.
Yeah, where the neighbors have basically bought permits because they don't have driveways or things.
Yeah.
Sean Shapiro, TikTok traffic cop, Toronto Police Service, Traffic Services. Thanks for your time. This is always one of everybody's favorite segments. We appreciate it.
We have a great time whenever we come out. So thanks very much, and good talking to you.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. I guess you just came back from vacation, so
yes.
Back to work. Coming up in the next hour, Ontario's very last mask.
Okay, he's out, and Sergeant Campbell is back. We were. It's always fun. It's a different time zone. It's a different time that we play. Usually it's at 9:35, and we have this time before the show. And because so much time was taken up by the on-air questions, I figure we'll go a little long. I have a few extra minutes that we can spend to get some more questions from our TikTok folks. But always like going on the radio. It's always fun when we get live callers and phone-in show. It changes things. So I love y'all on TikTok and YouTube and everywhere else, but it's nice to hear from you. Maybe we should figure out a way that we can take callers one day. Yeah, that would be cool.
I think that'd be a great idea.
Yeah. What do we have here? Every day is a holiday says. That's a good question with an important answer. I'm curious. I have no idea what we're talking about. It's completely out of context. We have a question that says, how can I get my friend from New Brunswick without going through the U.S.? I have no idea.
Well, you know what? I just made that trip a couple of weeks ago.
You did?
I did, and I stayed completely in Canada.
Tell me more.
So I took the 401 up to Quebec, went on the south side of the river in Montreal, and followed all the way to Rivière-du-Loup.
So is that just a longer run, but it's...
I don't know if it's actually a longer run from Toronto or not, but it can be done. You don't have to actually go into the States to get there.
Cool. I got a message saying, say goodbye to Instagram. Instagram didn't cut us off yesterday when we hit an hour. We'll see if it hits us today. That'll be in 3 minutes if it does cut us off. Can you tint your mirrors? Why on earth would you want to tint your mirror? Why do you want to tint anything? I get the windows left and right of the driver a little bit, but I don't get the whole mirrors thing. Why? Can you tint your mirrors? I don't think there's a law preventing you from doing it. I would say it's a great clue if you drove into somebody when changing lanes and we saw that you had tinted mirrors. It might be a reason why. So that might contribute to who gets charged and what. What is this? One question: doesn't bad roads bother cops who are driving in Toronto? Bad roads bother everybody. We are not, we are not able to not be bothered. Bad roads are bad roads. And bad traffic is bad traffic. So it doesn't matter what it is. We feel for you. We have to drive those roads too. Unfortunately, not our department. What is this? Oh, here. Does a police officer have to show you your speed if you ask? No. In Ontario, we don't have to show you. We can show you, and if it's safe to do so, I like to. So if I'm using a laser device, I usually bring it to the side of the vehicle and I say, hey, here's your speed. And but we also have vehicle-mounted devices like our B3s in the car. That's something that would require you to get out of the car, get into my car, or stand on the road. It's unsafe. And as a result, we wouldn't bring you in for that. Okay. Carolina says... no, because the radar. See, there you go. It says no, because the radar might be car mounted. Absolutely. But so again, it's not required. We can testify to the fact that it is what we said it is. But you can always have a trial and do things if you don't believe it. But we have no reason to make it up. We don't get commission. Tracy, yeah, that's funny. Okay. Can you make a U-turn at an advanced left? Same answer as before. If it's not signed otherwise, if it's not unsafe, but you're responsible for everything you do. So that could cause an issue. If you make a U-turn in the midst and someone drives into you because you're making an unusual turn, it's going to be a bad day at the office. It's just a bad day all around. I would much rather see someone make a safe U-turn not at an intersection or using a multitude of turns or driving into a parking lot. These are much safer options. U-turns are possibly the most risky maneuver because you can't see everywhere at the same time, and other drivers don't know what you're doing until you're doing it. So it's a huge opportunity for a collision, and nobody wants that. Okay. Can you get in trouble for having expired temp when there's no stickers anymore? Well, if your plates are now valid and you've done your safety and you've met the requirements, having the temporary sticker is just going to cause people to look at your license plate more. But it's not against the law to leave a sticker on afterwards. So that's that.
If your temporary 10-day trip permit attached to your plates has expired, we will know that. And guess what? You don't get to drive anymore. You get a whole bunch of tickets. And if you have not got a valid safety, safeties are valid for 36 days in the province of Ontario. If it is not valid and with you and your permit has expired, guess what? You get an unsafe vehicle ticket as well.
You lose your plates.
Yeah.
And at that point, you have to reapply for them after. It's a problem.
It is. Yep. You know what? We want safe cars that are on the road there. So that's usually what a temporary 10-day pass gives you, is the ability to go and get your car repaired and safetied.
Here's a question. Does a cop at Tim's have to buy coffee and donut for the person behind them? Yeah, you know, it's funny. It happens because some places like to give us coffee. And I am of the opinion that I make enough money and I can buy my own. But I really appreciate, and very often it's uncomfortable to argue with the person who's trying to give us a free coffee, even though we shouldn't be receiving anything in gifts. So I buy the coffee for the person behind me. And that's a great way to go.
My money goes into the Tim Hortons Camp Fund, the little collection at the front there. I always have enough money for coffee, and I always put it in there.
It's just the easy way to play. I don't like. It's an uncomfortable position to accept gifts.
Yep.
So we don't. Okay. What's the best thing to do in case of road rage? I'm making up words. What's the best thing to do in case of road rage when someone is chasing you? Hopefully no one's chasing you, but if you are in a situation where you believe you're in danger, that someone is doing something like that, call 911. Drive to a police station while calling 911. It's unusual that someone would just target a random person. So calling the police and going to a police station is a good way to go.
And you know what? When you describe it as road rage, that's a very angry person and has the potential to obviously get out of control. You know what? Absolutely. That's what we're here for, and we'll get there as soon as we can.
Chasey wants to know, what's the difference between Toronto Police and Orange County PD? Well, it's actually Orange County Sheriff's Office, and that's who I visited when I was in Florida and Orlando. A fantastic organization. Learned a lot about how they operate, and we're going to have a podcast episode with the fine folks from there, some of them, and we'll talk about all the differences. But you know what? They have many similarities. They do a lot of traffic enforcement, impaired driving investigations. They do a lot of things that we do, and in some ways they're very different. So we'll talk all about that at some point. Satpal wants to know if traffic cops also have guns. Yes, we're police officers. Police officers, we can do anything as a police officer. We just happen to be specialists in traffic. So we do have firearms. We do have tasers. We do have rifles in some cases if we're qualified for it. So yes, we have everything that everybody else has. We're not tactical officers. We don't have. Well, actually, some of us have the fancy pants.
Yep.
Yes, we have that. Not because we're tactical officers, but because
we are police officers across the board. We're all police officers, and we're all trained to do multiple things. Just currently, right now, we work in a traffic unit, and our specialty is investigating traffic collisions.
And the truth is, tomorrow they could say, you know what, you're going to a division and you're going to do division work, and we're still police officers, and we can do that. Can CN Police pull you over? CN being the Canadian National Railway Police. They are police officers, and they can pull people. Their jurisdiction is specific to, in relation to their property, I believe, within a certain area. So they can do impaired investigations. They can do everything. They issue tickets.
Yeah, it has to do with in relation to their property, their equipment, or their cargo as well. So they can pull you over anywhere if they're investigating an incident that may involve one of something that belongs to them, or they're moving something.
Here's a good question. Do police officers have to stop for TTC vehicles when the doors are open? And I believe that they do. Same as school buses. We stop for school buses. We don't have the ability of bypassing that. We can go through signalized intersections on a red after coming to a complete stop and ensuring it's safe to proceed. But there's nothing indicating a bypass for a TTC vehicle or for a school bus.
No, that's correct. It's all about safety. We have to do our job, and we have to do it safely as well, right? There are times where we may have the lights and siren going, and to alert the TTC driver, maybe not to open their doors so we can get by, because we're going to an emergency, going to help somebody else.
And we would hope that whether it be a school bus or a TTC driver, if they're not actively having people exit the vehicle, that they have an opportunity to close it and disable their stuff, then to let us go, because we are going to try and save the world in our own special way. Or save the day. Sorry, I misquoted the cartoon. I have kids. What can I say? But I don't watch. What is it? Paw Patrol? Paw Patrol. That's what it was. How can an unsafe vehicle not be at fault in a collision? Well, unsafe vehicle and collision are two separate things. The vehicle itself may be at fault for the collision, or it may be the other party, and their vehicle could also be unsafe. It may not be a contributing factor in that particular collision, which is why we do investigations. We conduct investigations to find out who's actually at fault. Now, you might get charged as an at-fault driver and not have an unsafe vehicle, and you could be the other party and still be charged not for the collision, but for the unsafe vehicle. Two separate independent things happening.
Yeah, you got to remember that it's the driver, the operator of the vehicle, that had actually put the vehicle in motion, causing it to be there, causing it to act in the manner that it is. It's their responsibility to do it when it's safe. It's their responsibility to drive safely as well.
Why do cops waste time giving petty tickets? Is there an alternate motive? You know what? If you're breaking the law, you need to follow the law, and tickets help you remind you that you need to do the right thing. So it's not petty versus not. It's breaking the law or following the law. There's no in between. Now, do we focus on minor things versus major things? We see whatever comes by our path. If I see something that's minor, I pull you over. If I see something that's major, I pull you over. I don't pick and choose and add bias as to what I think is valuable or not valuable. That's my take on it anyway.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if there is any such thing as a petty ticket. You know what? You're committing an offense. And you know what? For every law that's out there, every rule that's out there, they obviously made it for a reason. And somebody's obviously done it in the past. So that's why it's there for us.
Yeah, something as simple as a license plate light. We need to see the license plate. We pull you over for that reason. We may charge you for that. Now, I could give you a warning. I can give you a printed warning, a verbal warning, or I could charge you. But it makes sense to have that interaction. And many people believe that laying the charge is the only way to convey the message. Other people think that warnings, it's up to the individual officer as to how they proceed. There's one last ticket. Can you have tint on your car? It's always a favorite question to respond to, so we'll have to hit that, and we'll close the show with that. And that is, you can have tint on your vehicle. You can't have it on your windshield, save and except for a tint strip on the top of your window if your vehicle was manufactured before 2017. If it was manufactured 2017 or later, you cannot have anything on the front windshield. As for the windows left and right of the driver, you can have a maximum of 30% light blockage. You cannot use reflective tint, and you cannot obscure the interior of the vehicle because that's a separate offense. You can't prevent us from seeing in, and there's lots of reasons why we need to be able to see in. For instance, we need to see if you are wearing your seatbelt, if you're using your cell phone, if you're consuming alcohol, if we're trying to identify what a driver looks like because they may or may not be involved in a motor vehicle collision, or for any reason you're operating the vehicle on the road. Now, the windows to the behind the driver compartment, the rear passenger rear passenger windows, and the rear windshield or rear window, those could be any darkness. You could paint them black. You don't have to have windows there; they're not a requirement. But the ones in the front are required. And if they're too dark, not only could you get a ticket for having the tint, but you could have an unsafe vehicle situation. If you had a tinted windshield, take your license plates. You're off the road.
What about headlights and taillights, Sean?
Oh yes, well, that's your favorite.
Yeah. No headlights, no taillights.
You can't tint them. You can't cover them. They have to be able to function to a certain level. They have to be able to do their job. And it's set out in the regulation as to what that has to be. But there's specific charges for having anything on the headlights. And you have to consider, they are there to help you see and help be seen. If you prevent them from doing their job, you might just be making yourself more of a liability on the road. If you get rear-ended when you have tinted taillights, you might be contributing to that collision when someone ran into you. They may be less responsible than you. And with that, I say thanks for coming by. It's been nice spending time with you. It's been great spending time with Mark Toohey on the air. And we'll do lots of this stuff. Now, Mark Anthony, what is this? What is this? Oh, you know what? Okay, we had a couple questions that popped in. Can we have underglow lights? I said it was the last question, but then I don't want to ignore the folks in the other window. Can we have underglow lights? Underglow is not specifically illegal. However, if it is not installed properly, if bulbs are visible, if you're projecting forwards, backwards, side to side, you could be violating other areas of the Highway Traffic Act. And Mark Anthony said, is it illegal to race off the white line to make a left turn just to beat through traffic? That is called a jackrabbit start. That is stunt driving. That's lose your license for 30 days, lose your vehicle for 14. It is not safe. You cannot jump the gun and go in front of other traffic. That's a big one. And that's it. That's all. It's been a blast. I look forward to doing this again tomorrow with all you fancy people. Take care.
No music?
I have to reprogram all the buttons. We're still live.
I like the music.
I like the music too, and it's in everything. Not only is TikTok broken, but I don't know what's going on here. Maybe it was unplugged for too long, or maybe somebody